decide to re-inherit, problems occur. For anybody that's wondering, Pirate Nosh kind of seems odd. I think it's wordsmith.org. It'll give you anagrams of words. So SharePoint, Pirate Nosh, rearrange the letters. So what your logical architecture might end up looking like, pretty simple. Probably have your internet out there, your third-party user deployment tools. So if someone had a management tool, where help out with that site user, because everything's kind of mishmashed into one big site collection. You might go out and buy Deliver Point or USPM, or if you wanted to get kind of a creme de la creme, either Quest or DocAv, to manage your users a little more easily. You might have that sitting off under the web application. Just kind of give you an idea. Hardware-wise, probably not looking at too much. If you wanted to publish things a little bit better, you'd probably use ISA servers so you can block URLs for the outside world so that people aren't trying to go to _layouts directly. It's one of the cute things about Ferrari.com. They did a good job. They actually protected the website so that me as an outside user couldn't try to hack into their system and change some of the content just because I was bored. But kind of the scenario two, we're looking at a little bit more collaboration, document management, workflow, records management, and we're looking at 100,000 users. That's a couple folks. If you ever do undertake something where it's 100,000 users or more, spend about 6 months on requirements gathering. Just a little tip. I've seen organizations try to gloss over and just say, oh, we're just going to push forward, we're going to go for it, we're going to provide the service, and never really gets off the ground, even if it's a service available.
I have a question for you. You say 6 months. In a perfect world.
In a perfect world, 6 months would be nice.
What are some of your strategies and/or recommendations to push for those requirements when everyone else is let's deploy?
I would say, as your user group or as your executive, your CEO says, hey, we need to get this service out there by July 1st. I would definitely push and just say, hey, we need to at least figure out what are these top level things. Because a lot of the time they'll just say, well, what's SharePoint? It's like, well, what facets of SharePoint do you want? And if you at least say collaboration, document management, you can start planning around that and doing some requirements gathering to figure out exactly how that's going to work. 6 months would be nice. Typically it's pressed down to a month for documents to be generated and plans to be formed. A lot of meetings, and a lot of coffee and Red Bull, and such is life. But wait, there's more. You want complex permissions, you want extranet access, you want smart card authentication, which is one of my favorites. You have this high desire for high availability, so your system is load balanced and there's no single point of failure, and integrity of data would be nice. You want to use security groups from AD also for everything you're coming in through. So probably some of your solutions are going to be, again, third-party records management solution. If you're going to try and use SharePoint's DoD 5015, more power to you. The moment you change it, it's no longer certified. There are a couple out there. Records Center from, I believe it's CA Records Manager. IBM has their FileNet suite, which has several different components for records management. There are a couple others out there that have connectors into SharePoint. But, that might be a potential solution. They say, hey, we want to be able to do document collaboration. Not everybody's got Word on their desktop. Okay, Confluence Wikis, they've got a connector. It works pretty cool. Rights management server to prevent folks from forwarding documents around or taking documents off the server, potentially. And, again, another user management tool that works with AD. And from a hardware side, you're probably looking at a large farm. So, again, like I said, you're removing the complexity with mirroring. So if you did want that data integrity, you're going to have a mirrored system or you're going to have a clustered system. It depends on how much you want to pay for it, how much your IT shop is going to really say what their requirements are. Personally, I like mirroring the data of a cluster. So if you have a cluster set up and then mirror that, either using SAN replication or a third-party product to another mirrored clustered system, it's pretty nice. And then obviously you can always do log shipping. Kind of painful, but it seems to work. And a third-party mirroring tool, you're doing some sort of SAN replication of your architecture. Split DNS always comes in handy as well if you're trying to do extranet access. So your internet users are going to a different IP address mapped to a name than your intranet. Web content management system for that sharing of information, and then again, they've got these workflow requirements. Probably don't want to have your IT guys stuck either using SharePoint Designer or having to code a lot of WF code. Just go ahead and present it to them, put it out in the logical architecture, put it out as a web application that can go into and quickly design these workflows that they like. Obviously, kind of like I said, this isn't going to get planned overnight. If it does, I'm skeptical. Or they're a genius. May or may not actually look what the organization has. The computer age and thinking that we do these days is definitely different than what organizations did 5-10 years ago in terms of how we actually manage data. There's a great book out there, not to tout Google, but they have a book out. Can't remember the title, but basically it's talking about Edison and electricity and whatnot, and kind of having power plants that are centralized rather than everybody having their own little power generation plant. They kind of make the same idea for cloud computing and Google, which is pretty interesting. Microsoft BPOS, same idea. And obviously, the requirements gathering, discover what's out there, incorporate that into your architecture, your taxonomy. So again, this is kind of what your architecture might look like. You might end up with a slew of web applications to support the needs of your user base. You might end up with a lot more servers than you thought you had. I know one of the systems I worked on was interesting to me because we had something along the lines of 20 web front ends, but I think 15 of them were doing collaboration. The other 5 were doing kind of the web content management side of things, so we had to separate them out in that way. But it was still one farm, so it was kind of different. Yeah?
So in this complex environment, what are your recommendations how to define taxonomy for 100,000 users? How to define taxonomy?
For the hardware itself, or?
No, taxonomy.
For the taxonomy, a lot of the time it'll come down to really looking at it and trying to separate. Every organization has an organization chart. If it didn't, it wouldn't be an organization, but or they wouldn't work properly. A lot of the time we'll take kind of that organization chart, we'll build that out as taxonomy, but we'll make it very locked down to the point of just being information that they're shared through email about what their activities are. Everything else we pipeline out, typically like if they do a lot of projects or portfolio planning, split that out into different web applications, or use managed paths if it's not a huge organization. It really kind of depends on what you run into when you're doing kind of your data call or interviews and whatnot. So I guess one of my clients, they had a really big push for kind of collaboration information sites, but their planning for it was to basically have a web application for every organization to then dump all their projects into. So taxonomy-wise, they ended up having one Uber site collection for just organization information, whereas for everything projects related, it would go to the web application that was actually associated with that organization. And they would just have links from the Uber site collection to their individual web application. So, not always the best way, but a lot of the time, even when we'll put forward a recommendation, they might throw down the kibosh on us and pretty much just say, nope, we want it to look this way, we want the URL namespace to look this way, and we want our users to logically think this way. So, yeah.
Well, what about creating taxonomy for content, not creating a structure for the portal, but you need to categorize content, you need to categorize documents. So users in one site collection can search maybe data by some categories from another site collection. in your organization. I've been thinking about taxonomy, how to categorize data, not how to create.
Right. So kind of more the information architecture side of it.